Yeah. Yep. Hi guys, this is Ashish and Ashish from OnlineSales.ai. I also have Sheetal who sent out all the invites to you guys and heads our customer experience team. And so thanks for taking the time out, guys. We'll just get started in about a minute. But first of all, before we get started, I just wanted to thank you for taking the time out before the holidays. I'm sure like all of us are very excited to head into the holidays and looking forward to the 2018 new year. This presentation or this the walkthrough that we wanted to do was is about a new feature that we are launching, which will allow you to set goals for the marketing budgets that you have very easily, as well as experiment in a way. It basically gives you a canvas to experiment towards achieving the marketing goals quite easily as well. The format is like I have about 5 to 10 minutes worth of slides, and then I'll jump into a demo, right? Overall, I think it'll last about 15 to 30 minutes, between 20 and 30 minutes. And then we'll open up for any kind of Q&A that you may have out there, or any feedback or any Q&A that you may have. And in the meantime, feel free to keep chatting. You would see the chat box on the left-hand side. You can ask us questions or chat there, and we'll queue up all the questions and get to responding to every question out there towards the end of the presentation. Yeah. So I'll jump into the deck right away. So let me introduce goals and experimentation, a newest feature that you would now start seeing on OnlineSales.ai as a platform. But before we get started, I wanted to give you a background about what goals and experimentation and why this approach towards performance marketing is very important, especially in e-commerce business. So what are goals, especially in OnlineSales.ai? Goals let you define your marketing objectives for your store, right? And the goal and the objectives could be anything around orders, revenues, margins, or visitors for a given budget. And the budget is typically monthly budget that we ask for. Or it can also be a promotional budget. So let's say you may have a promotion running for Christmas, and then you may want to run it only for 7 days. And for that 7 days worth of budget, what are you expecting out there, right? So are you expecting Y amount of visitors or orders or revenues? That's basically what the goal is. And this becomes a primary input into the platform because this is the input with which the platform actually guide across launches, optimizations, or even cross-channel budget management in an automated fashion. Right, so having the right goal, a realistic goal, but a more thought-through goal is far more important for the platform to sort of help you in your pursuit to achieve this goal out there. So the other question, I think, in the previous life of OnlineSales.ai, I think we kept creating many number of so-called marketing strategies or goals. But I also want to touch upon how many goals should one create for an e-commerce store out there. Well, it really depends on how many different objectives that you have, right, for the store. Now, as a background, right, so I've worked very extensively at Amazon before starting OnlineSales.ai. So I was up in Seattle, right, and then was managing the entire marketing platform for Amazon in-house out of Seattle. So being part of Amazon, we would have multiple different goals, right, and then Amazon carries so many categories, and it's extremely data-oriented. So Amazon would have different goals for different product categories. For example, high-margin product categories versus low-margin product categories. You may want to have different cost per order kind of objectives for different categories, depending on the margins that you guys carry, or depending on the life cycle of the store. You may want to focus differently on new buyers or the first-time buyers versus repeat buyers out there, right? Or brand awareness campaigns versus performance-led campaigns out there. So let's say if you're launching a new category, for example, in your e-commerce store, the first few months or first few weeks of the category launch, you may want to launch a brand awareness campaigns where the objective could be just n number of visitors coming and and seeing my new category on my website out there. Or if you have if you're in the export oriented businesses, or if you're targeting multiple countries out there, you may want to have different objectives out there, right? So there's just some examples. When you should actually create a different goal out there, right? And then depending on the life cycle of the store or the stage of the store, right? And of course, your engagement with us on OnlineSales.ai, anywhere between 1 to about 5 goals would be ideal, and that should suffice for almost 80 to 90% of the use cases out there, right? And if you have any questions on goals or any experiences here, feel free to ask us questions on the chat, and I'll cover these questions as soon as we are done with this presentation before the demo. So that's you define the goal, right? And creating a goal is easy. Of course, some of you are the founders of e-commerce stores yourself. Some of you maybe working for an e-commerce store, right? And it's very easy to define goal, right? While we plan it, we put the goals in. But to achieve the goal is very is where the rubber meets the road, essentially, right? One of my favorite movies, like Pursuit of Happiness, right? I mean, Will Smith's movie out there. So where most of you guys would have seen the movie, where it's a constant pursuit towards achieving the goal, right? Constant experimentation, constant decision making that you have to do, right? And with the right feedback loop from data that will guide you towards achieving the goals out there, right? And especially for us in the e-commerce world, right? The world is actually becoming increasingly dynamic and hence more complex as well, right? Whether it's about merchandising, right? So you may have different products coming in your catalog, going out of the catalog, different pricing dynamics there, margin dynamics there. Channels like Facebook, Google are constantly evolving, right? With new features, new ad types, new ways of targeting, etc. The competition as well is not going to be stagnant, right? Competition is always evolving. The shoppers' Micromoments, right? With the increasing exposure of digital media and information overload across different channels and media, the attention span that the shoppers have are increasingly shortening day after day, right? And hence we call it Micromoments, right? So you have to capture these Micromoments of the shoppers to really grab their attention, right? And deliver the right message at the right time with the right product, and give an overall the right experience out there, right? And of course you have marketplaces like Amazon, the Flipkarts, the Snapdeals of the world, and hence the constant decision making between should you create your own brand, sell it through your own store versus sell it through 3P or a hybrid model thereof, right? So it's increasingly dynamic, more complex, and hence the fun, right? And hence what excites us, at building a platform that empowers the retailers to help them achieve the business goals overall out there. So so now going back to the goals, once you've defined the goal, I mean the whole and this is when you think of it, it's very obvious, but from a day-to-day perspective, a lot of people actually miss the approach towards this. But it's a very simple cycle of you build a hypothesis of who to target, right? Which merchandise to promote, what geography should I target, etc. And you build your hypothesis, then you want to experiment that, and you learn from the data and rebuild your hypothesis, whether it's new hypothesis or the existing hypothesis out there, right? It's a very constant, simple cycle, but more often than not, we miss out the experimentation and objectivity as part of the pursuit towards achieving the marketing goals, right? And then that's basically what we're enabling with the new feature out there. Just a couple of slides before we jump into the demo. So now the platform will actually allow you very, very easily in a very intuitive way to experiment across dimensions critical for any marketing strategy, right? So first of all, what are the right mix of channels would you select, right? So if you're targeting, let's say, new buyers versus repeat buyers, which channels would you want to select out there? Second dimension on which you would want to experiment is merchandising. So which product categories or which set of SKUs that you would want to promote on what channels out there? And for that relevant set of SKUs, which audience persona that you would like to target, right? Now, again, this is there's no magic wand, either with you guys or with us or with whoever, right? Where we say that, hey, guaranteed, if you target these personas, you'll achieve your goal, right? And hence that constant need of experimentation, constant evolution of different ways of targeting that channels provide you. And hence it becomes very important to be on top of this, especially the merchandising and the audience, right? The number 2 and the number 3 is extremely important from day-to-day or week-on-week experimentation out there. And then followed by which geo and what device that you would want to target or spend more of your budgets out there. And last but not the least, and probably one of the other more important dimension to it is messaging, right? The creatives itself, right? Now, on the creatives, we are very excited to launch a new feature on the creatives side of things, and I'll give you a quick lowdown on that. But creatives, at our end, we actually break down every creative into different elements of the creatives, right? So which background image should you choose? I mean, should you use a darker background image versus a lighter background image? What call to action should you choose? Should you zoom in on the product, zoom out of the product image when you place it? Where should you place your logo on the banner image, for example, the top left, top right? So bunch of those kind of experimentation that will become very, very easy once you see it in the platform. And that's something that we are now enabling as part of this new feature rollout that will allow you to experiment across this dimension, get the feedback on which experiment is actually performing, which experiment is not, and hence you can very quickly with one click, either choose to pause an experiment, launch a new experiment, or check out your performance data by each experiment out there. This, I think the last slide on the deck itself, but so it has never been simpler. We've we put in a lot of time to actually build this interface, and it's, again, far from perfect, but it's getting there. Where what we like to say, it's the most intuitive way of experimenting, learning, and re-experimenting towards any marketing strategy out there, right? So it is simple, super simple. It is scalable, and you would quickly see how scalable it is. How in a scaled way that you can launch multiple experiments that will automatically launch hundreds and thousands of campaigns, ad sets, your personas, your targeting, URLs, all of that happens automatically on the back end. And how smart it is, right? So you would keep getting constant objective feedback for each of your experimentation in terms of what's working, what's not, and that will allow all of us to to actually take a lot more data-driven decisions rather than a gut calls or blind decision making that sometimes we're forced to take without good data or good feedback coming from the platform out there. So that's that. For any feedback post the demo or during the demo, you can of course chat with us on the webinar. Or you can always reach out to me at any point of time. Simple email address, ashish@OnlineSales.ai. For any feedback regarding the platform, regarding the company, any feature requests that you may have, or simply want to say hi, I'm always available at this email address. So looking forward to be in touch with you guys. Let me quickly now jump into the platform and give you what the new goals and experimentation canvas look like. So I don't know how many of you guys would have seen this, but if you jump onto the OnlineSales.ai platform, right? So on the platform you would see the second tab called Goals, right? And that's where basically we define the goals, and now that's where you would start seeing the new experience about experimentation and the data, right? What this page actually shows you is basically let's say if you have more than one goals, right? overall, right, what's the overall goal look like? Like what was your spend goal and what is your absolute goal in terms of the absolute revenue versus spend? You could have defined, let's say, transactions as a goal, or you could have defined like visitors as a goal. Doesn't matter. But this basically just gives you a quick projections and extrapolation on how are you doing right now and how are you going to what is the projections out there, right? So again, this is a dummy store, dummy catalog, dummy data, right? So don't go with the numbers here, but the functionality is basically will tell you what's the projection towards the end of the month, how far off are you from the goals across different goals that you defined here. Now within that you have let's say right now we just have one goal here, but on that, what is the so here's basically when you open that goal, right, you would see a quick trend chart in terms of what's your performance look like, and this is the new experience that I talked to you about. Like now within as part of that goal, you can actually see which channels are performing, which audience are performing for me, or which geo is performing, or what device is performing. Right, so there are multiple geos, multiple personas here, multiple geos, multiple campaigns. I'll jump into this again. I'll come back to this in a bit, but let me first show you the goal. When I click on launch a new goal, right, this is basically how the new goal card is going to look like, right? So you can actually name this, let's say, transactions for. Okay, let it load. I think it's not loaded yet. Yeah. So let me name it as, let's say, transactions. You can set the goal whether it's a recurring goal or a one-time, a limited time-based kind of a goal. Maybe it's promotional goal or a recurring goal. So if it's a recurring goal, then it's a monthly goal. Which country you would want to target? So if you are targeting more than one country, then you would want to create more than one goal for sure. So in one goal, you can target one country here. So United States, and let's say my target spend is, let's say, $100,000, and would want to aim for a revenue for $400,000 out there, right? So that's basically where you enter basically what your target spend and target revenue is, and at a high level, what channels that you would want to go live with, right? So any alert or any notification will be shown to you right here. For example, on Facebook DPA, I cannot launch it because it says Facebook remarketing pixel is not available, right? So that's a notification back to the team to either place a remarketing pixel and then launch it. But you can do that, or you can select as many channels here, right? And you can give us an initial split in terms of how you would want to split the budget that you've given here across channels, right? So now this is interesting where, let's say, in Google Shopping, you may want to spend more than 50%, than 40%. So what you would see here is the gray dot is actually the suggested budget split according to the platform, right? And you're, of course, free to change the splits however you want it, right? You can always reset it back to what the platform suggested split was, or you can say that no, I don't care. I would want to spend 60% on Google Shopping, 25 or 15% on Google Search, and rest I would want to keep the same, right? Now this balance icon will just tell you that, hey, no, this total doesn't add up to 100%. With just one click, you can fix it, and it'll proportionately fix the budget split to make it 100%. So you don't have to keep computing that, how should I, where is the extra 3% or 4% going or whatever. So you can do that. The icons will keep on changing. You can keep splitting that as well. Right. So that's basically at a high level. You define the goal. You hit save. Once you hit save, you let's say this is a transaction goal that we saved, right? The channels that you selected those channels will be now created as the cards here, right? So this is, let's say, Google Shopping strategy, Facebook DPA strategy, Google Search as a strategy, right? And Facebook as a strategy out here, right? So these are 4 channels that we had selected. These are the 4 different cards that you would see here. And under each card, you would now see, so let's say like the most interesting one is Facebook. Platform has automatically pulled categories that you have in your catalog, right? So again, dummy pants, and then rest of apparel and accessories. It some audience, so buy the right, and I'll about it as well. And what geo that you should be targeting, and what devices you should be targeting, right? So now the way you would read it is that your, like, let's say apparel and accessories as a strategy. I mean, that's the merchandise that you would want to promote, which is the audience that you would want to target. So these are the 4 audiences that you're targeting, right? And there's a geo that I'm targeting, and there's a device I'm targeting, right? Now, so let's assume if this strategy was live, you can quickly just click on any of the audience persona, and you would basically see what the performance of that particular persona for that strategy is, or for that category is, right? So let's say expensive sports fans, so people who like expensive sport cars, or different teams out there, and F suggests female. How are they performing, right? And you would see spend versus transactions over a different period of time once it was live. But you can actually pause or unpause the persona right from here, saying that, hey, I don't want to target them, target this persona. You can just quickly unpause it, and that'll be striken out. Let's say you want to add a new persona, right? So you can either search from the current library of personas that we have. So let's say I may search for, or let's say music, young music fans female versus young music fans male. So you can search and add as many personas that you would want to have. Or let's say, Hollywood fashion fans. So right, so people who follow certain celebrities, or certain Hollywood movies, etc. So that you can target as well, or you can remove them right here, or you can actually create your own new audience persona group. And when you create a new group, this is basically a persona that you can reuse across different strategies and different channels as well, right? So let's say when I create a new audience group, right, you can now define your own audience group, like here, right? So let's say I'm saying that music lovers. Oops. So let's say musicians out there, you can select your date, or sorry, not date, sorry, age range 20 to 30, target men or female, and then you can have like people who like, let's say musicians, people who like, let's say Pink Floyd. It will start suggesting you so this is a seed targeting. So let's say if you want to target people who like Pink Floyd, so once you do that, the system will automatically suggest what other targeting parameters that you would want to also target, right? As part of building this persona of musicians out there, right? So Metallica or Led Zeppelin, right, or David Gilmour, etc., etc., right? And this is you can even define your custom audience here, people who have visited over last few days and on certain pages of your site where URL equals blah. Right? Or you can upload your email list, or exclude certain audiences, lookalike audiences, and hit save, right? And that's basically the persona that you can actually save and you can reuse as a targeting option here. Right? So once I save it, I can, oops. I can save it and I can see all those personas, and I can add those personas here, right? I was going to show you how to add a new geo group out there. So let's say if you want to now create, let's say tier one cities, and let's say I want to add just Mumbai, right? So Mumbai, Delhi, it's New Delhi actually. Bangalore and so forth. You get an idea, but you can actually name a geo cluster with any target locations that you would want to add or exclude, and you can hit save, right? And you can now use this geo cluster anywhere, and you will actually get performance data at a tier 1 versus tier 2 versus tier 3, right? Depending on how the geo clusters have you guys defined out there, right? So you can see tier 1 here. I can target, of course, individual cities by itself. You can target north, south, east, west. Like, you feel free to create the geo clusters the way you see your business and the targeting thereof, right? So once you do that, right, and you can of course play around with the devices. But this is basically the view that you actually get, that for apparel and accessories, these are the audiences that you're targeting. Just recapping this. So these are the audience that you're targeting. This is the geo that you're targeting, and these are the devices that you're targeting. Of course, in the device, again, you can separate out mobile versus desktop. Very soon, you can actually go down deeper into devices to define whether people are on 4G versus on 2G, or people carrying iOS versus Android phones, and so on and so forth. So you can define your device profiles. Yeah, so there's already iOS, etc. right here, right? So you can define a device profile for yourself, that the way you see your business targeting as well. So you can define your device profiles here and keep experimenting. Now, the beautiful part is, as soon as the data starts flowing into the system, these capsules that you see here, I mean, we call it capsules, the party goers, female, or online shoppers, male, this capsule will start turning red, green, or gray. Essentially, green will tell you that it's actually performing above par. Learning will basically just mean that there's not enough data for us to conclude yet, so let it run. And red means it's performing below par. So let me give you a quick overview of that. This is how it'll look like, something like this. Let me show you this. So let's say on Facebook. Yeah, so this is one example that you can see here. So on Facebook, let's say this capsule, luxury vacationers male, is actually performing really well. But as a whole of the geo, United States is not performing. So what this means is that you can actually now go and actually break down your geo rather than targeting the whole of US in just one campaign out there. The idea is for you to break it down into different states or different regions out there, and then you can actually figure that instead of targeting the whole of US, let me start figuring out the pockets of geographies that actually will perform or not, right? So you can actually say click and pause it here, right? And launch new geo targeting as I showed you earlier, right? Also, one thing I actually forgot mentioning here. So category-led strategies are the strategies where we will automatically pull categories from your catalog, right? And also have predefined, or pre-created suggestions in terms of what audience you should target, what geo you should target, and device you should target. There's also a tab called custom strategies, where if you have any campaigns that you have manually created, right, or you have linked your account into our OnlineSales.ai platform, those campaigns will be under legacy campaigns, which is basically all those campaigns will be marked here. They will still be optimized for the same goal that you have defined right on top here, like what's the cost per order target or cost per revenue target, right? And you can keep adding new strategy as well, right? So let's say you only want to run promotional campaign for one product category. So let's say only tops or shirts and tops, right? That as a category, or you can combine 2 or 3 different strategies and create one unique strategy out there, right? So shirt and tops, and let's say for whatever reason, let's say if I want to target 5-pocket denim jeans, and if that's something as a category in your catalog, this is automatically synced from the category, from the catalog that you have with us. So you can now combine these 2 categories and give a strategy name, saying that, let's say this is shirts and jeans, and hit add. Right, so now you have shirt and jeans as a new strategy, and now you can keep adding the personas that you would want to target. So let's say shirt and jeans, and I would want to target. So let's say people who like Levi's. Actually, No, actually, this is audience persona. So let's say whatever, right? So I mean, there are so many audience libraries here, but you can target let's say like people who like cocktails and male, and because you may have a collection of shirts and jeans meant for let's say young professionals out there, and you would want to actually target people who like different cocktails and male, right? And that's basically one of the audience persona that I want to target. So you can hit add, right? And that's the audience targeting, and you can add your geo. So let's say India tier 1 city or India tier 2 cities, etc. Right? I can hit add, and of course any device that you would want to target. So let's say I want to target mobile only, and you hit add, right? And this is currently in the draft mode, right? So this strategy that we just created, it's in draft mode. You can just quickly click on that and activate. And on the back end, we will automatically launch campaigns, ad sets, persona targeting, geo targeting, all of that fully automatically on Facebook out there. Now, one interesting thing that you may ask is, what about the creatives, right? For the creatives for this strategy. So creative as a module is coming in about 2 to 3 weeks time. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, over the next 2 or 3 weeks, you would have to continue sending us the creatives the way that you guys currently do through our customer experience team, right? But very, very soon, and super exciting feature to automate your creatives and templatize your creatives in a very, very beautiful and intuitive way is coming in about 2 to 3 weeks. That will support creatives for your multi-product ads, PPLA ads, dynamic product ads, search ads, and PLA, Google Shopping ads as well, right? So that stay tuned for the creatives as a module which is coming, where you can actually target creatives at a persona level or at a strategy level or at a geo level. You can have different creatives for different personas and different geos right from here, right? So that's basically it basically shows you how you can easily now experiment different personas, different geos across different categories that you have, and quickly get a view in terms of what's working, what's not working. Pause certain experiments out there, and try new audiences, try new geos in literally one click. One click, without having or without bothering about going into Facebook directly or Google directly, thinking about what your campaign structures or audience structure would be, etc. And the beautiful part about the library that you will create as part of this is also that you can reuse the personas that you have created for one campaign. You can reuse it across different strategies and different channels as well. And just one quick feedback for ourselves and for this webinar. I believe this is the first webinar that we've done with you guys. So if you can just quickly help us, how frequently would you like us to walk you guys through with any upcoming features or any new features that we've launched, or talk about industry, industry topics in general. Happy to give you guys any kind of insights that we may have, or we may even open up a roundtable kind of a discussion forum of sorts. But yeah, if you guys can tell us at what frequency would you like this, that'd be fantastic. Thanks for the feedback, guys. I think most of you guys would love this to be on once a month. So we will definitely make a point to basically sync up together, catch up together for half an hour to 45 minutes every month, so that we can actually go through a lot of things which are happening in OnlineSales.ai and in e-commerce industry in general. Thanks for the time, guys, again, and happy holidays, and have a great break. We'll see you guys in January again. And again, as I told you earlier, feel free to reach out to me directly for anything. Ashish at OnlineSales.ai. Looking forward to hearing from you guys, and happy New Year in advance. Thank you, guys.